Not a lot left in that coffee cup. Good morning. Didn't intend on doing a podcast this morning. However, I had a few things influence me and decided maybe I'd get this out of my system. So here I am doing a podcast on a Sunday morning. Still going to mention the day of the week if I feel like it. Upset the wife, but you know how that goes. Look, I have a serious issue with some of the elite people, not even from the traditional media, the old school media, but just the elite in general, and how they talk down to us common folk. I think the first time I experienced this was with comedy. There was a comedian I was listening to, and I was really enjoying the podcast, and they went down a really strange road. They started talking about people who hadn't earned their spot in comedy. And I thought, how do you not earn your spot in comedy? You're either popular or you're not. You either have garnered an audience or you haven't. For instance, I'm a little fish in a huge ocean. I'm not doing this for an audience. I'm doing this to really out of enjoyment. I enjoy making these videos and putting my opinion out to the ether. I seldom get more than 10, 11 views. I'm happy with that. I'm not in this for really anything other than just to get these thoughts out of my head and to not irritate she who's still asleep. So, but when the comedian started talking down the people who hadn't been in the comedic circuit as long as he had, that really kind of took me off guard. I thought, okay, so by that standard, an Eddie Murphy should never really come to be, because Eddie Murphy became very popular very quickly. So Eddie Murphy's out. He shouldn't have made it, but he did. And for a long time, I was a fairly large Eddie Murphy fan. My point being, you can be successful at any stage of your career. You could go on stage, become, viral, and all of a sudden you've got a career. What you do with that, that's up to you. Did you earn it? I don't know. Does anybody earn anything in the arena of popularity? I've never been a popular individual. I don't give a crap. Maybe that's why I've not been a popular individual. However, if something goes viral, if someone goes viral, and they garner an audience, and they maintain that audience, and they're able to keep it, I think they earned the audience. I think they earned their success. That was the first time I dealt with elitism that wasn't actually called out while I was listening to the podcast. It was just glossed over and they moved on. I could call out names. I could tell you who was in the podcast, but I really don't. I don't know what they're doing now. I haven't heard about them in a while. Occasionally I hear them mentioned I listen to quite a few comedic podcasts because I enjoy laughing while I'm at work. Sometimes my job can get very intense, and the laughter is a relief valve for me. The most recent experience with elitism came from a debate, and this one is more recent, so I feel like I'm justified in dropping dropping their names on the Joe Rogan podcast with Dave Smith and Douglas Murray, who I hadn't had the pleasure to listen to in the past. A lot of people dislike Douglas Murray. A lot of people like him. I've been listening to Dave Smith for years. This was my first experience listening to Douglas Murray. I actually kind of align more with Murray's point of view than Smith's. I'm not. Look, this gets into a very deep and diverse kind of topic. By the way, I'm doing dishes. You can hear my dishwasher in the background. That just occurred to me, but that's what you get with my podcast, real life. Anyway, you get really a very, just because I disagree with you doesn't mean I agree with the person you disagree with. I can disagree with both of you. The world is 3D. The world is not a coin. There's not a flip and you're either heads or tails. The world is 3D. I'm not going to, just because I disagree with you, doesn't mean I agree with this other person who disagrees with you. That's not how I work. How I work is I find a topic. If I'm interested in the topic, I'll do a little bit of, come on up, buddy. Come on. Hey, buddy. My co-host is joining us this morning. Let me try and not cover up the microphone with him. Baggy. So, I find a topic, and if I'm interested in it, I'll do a little bit of research, and I'll make a decision. I'll make that decision based upon other people's investigations, other people's research, I'll even go as far as to say other people's opinion. I will listen to both sides if it is a two-sided topic, and many times I don't end up on either side. With the debate between Smith and Murray, I went into this topic, listening to this topic, already leaning more toward Israel's side. Not on Israel's side, but just leaning more toward being sympathetic toward Israel's plight. I don't like what they did. I don't like what Hamas did. Hamas is a terrorist organization. I don't like how Israel responded, but I understand it. Anyway, I went into this topic kind of leaning toward Mr. Murray's side of the thing. But during the debate on Rogan, Murray attacked David's credentials more than he debated the topic. And perhaps that wasn't true. Perhaps if you did a minute-by-minute breakdown, he would have debated the topic more than attack Smith's credentials. However, he did so strongly and so fervently, really, that I'm sure he alienated a lot of people. I'm sure that he alienated more people than he brought to his side of the debate. That's kind of the opposite idea of what a debate is. Now, like I said, I'm fond of Smith. I listen to his podcast, and it's a good podcast. I am a libertarian. He is a libertarian, and we don't agree on everything. Oh, Lord, I don't agree on everything with anybody, including she who is asleep still. But I had that kind of split in me going in to listen to this podcast. Murray really did a disservice to his side. And the reason I was inspired to do this podcast this morning was I listened to Murray again on the Rubin Report. It came up in my feed and I said, it's this guy who thinks that I shouldn't have an opinion if I haven't put feet on the ground in Israel. And yet he reports about Israel, which is his opinion. He wrote a book. I don't know the name of the book. And he wants me to buy his book I assume so I can be more well informed about Israel. So I said, let me listen to this podcast this morning. I was drinking, that's why I only got this little bit of coffee left, because I was listening to his podcast. I was listening to the Rubin Report, and wow. Where was that guy during the debate with Dave Smith? Mr. Murray certainly did not hold his own with Dave Smith. However, this podcast on the Rubin Report, this interview, much better. Now, Rubin was not antagonistic toward Murray. He was not challenging him. It was a very agreeable podcast. However, Murray was making some very salient points. So it was obvious to me that that guy is in there. He just didn't show up for the Smith debate, which is unfortunate because I would have loved to have seen a very effective debate against Dave Smith, who I'm a fan of. So the elitism, the idea that on one hand you're saying you should not talk about this because you are not qualified, and on the other hand you're saying buy my book so that you can become more well informed. I'm 60 years old. I'm not going to go to Israel and put boots on the ground and see what's going on. That's not my job. That's your job, Mr. Murray, if that's what you choose to do. However, to try and sell me your book after telling me not to form an opinion, or at least not to spread my opinion, because I'm not one of the elite who have put boots on the ground with the troops of the IDF, the Israeli Defense Federation, no, whatever it is ridiculous. I'm gonna talk about whatever I want to talk about, and if I choose to buy your book, I haven't really decided. I'm leaning not to buy your book because of your elitist attitude. I mean, why would I want to support someone who doesn't want me to have my opinion out there? That doesn't make any sense. And I agree with you more than likely. It's a bad look. It's a very bad look. During the COVID fiasco, you ain't gonna do it, buddy. I know where you're headed. During the COVID fiasco, people started saying you're not doing research. You don't have a white lab coat on. You're not a scientist. Stop this. Just do what they tell you. No. I do my research, not in a lab coat, but I take everybody's opinions into account who I respect as professionals. That's the research that they were talking about. And what you did when you said you're not a scientist is you demeaned their ability to take scientific opinion and make a decision with that. Don't be an elitist. I'm not going to go and have surgery done by an amateur with a pocket knife and a pocket knife, and I can't think of a equivalent tool that a non-doctor would have. But I'm going to go and I'm going to do the research, and I'm going to figure out who is the best person to do that surgery. That doesn't mean I don't want the best person to give me the service or advice. That means I'm seeking out the best that I can get. I am going to form my own opinion. And I am going to look at multiple sources who have different opinions, both about a surgery and a political ideal, and a political stance, and a war. Definitely a war. I'm definitely going to look at all the sides of a war because I am anti-war. What does that mean? Does that mean I want wars to stop? Yes. Does that mean I want bad people to win the war? No. That means I want wars to stop. I would like for the good people who have good intentions to win the war. That gets a little murky sometimes. So I look at all the sides I can find. But for you to use your credentials to try and sell your service or your book, and then tell me that after I receive your service or your book and read your book, to tell me that my opinion should not be spread, should not be forthcoming from me on a podcast, or Dave Smith is not one of the elite, has not put boots down in Israel to see what's going on. Well, that's really the absolute worst part of elitism. That is why the elites keep getting the bad reputation. No matter whether it's in comedy or politics, anything. If you are condescending to your customer, which is what you are doing if you want people to buy your book. Now, you may come out and say, I don't want those people to buy my book. I don't want to be associated with those people. Maybe I'm one of those people. Maybe that's me. I'm a those. Okay, well then you win. You've cut your customer base down. But the idea that people, to have a valid opinion, must be, one, a professional, two, in the arena that they're talking about, and three, have firsthand knowledge. Mr. Murray, I have a feeling that you have a stance on abortion. Have you ever had an abortion? You don't have to have been a first-hand witness or a participant to have an opinion. You don't have to be that guy. Don't be an elitist. You don't have to be a populist, but don't discourage people from having an opinion and debating that opinion with other people, whether it's on a podcast, which definitely distributes to a much wider audience than just talking with your friends. But if what you're looking to do is to bring us back to pre-internet times, that ain't gonna happen. Everybody in the world can have a podcast. They can put a video out on YouTube, Rumble, whatever. What is the other one? Vimeo? I don't do that one. Facebook. We are where we are at. And unless you're going to set off an EMP and just destroy our infrastructure of information, you're going to have to live with it. And if you agree to go on a podcast and debate somebody, you have already accepted their credentials, whether they are credentialed to your standards or not. That person that you have agreed to debate about that topic shouldn't have to sit there and listen to you tell them how unqualified they are. If they're so unqualified to have the debate on that topic, why are you sitting across from them? You blew the debate, which is unfortunate because I was looking forward to hearing your side, but you blew it. It's that simple. If you're going to debate somebody, debate them. Let them talk, you talk. Let them talk, you talk. That's how a debate works. Insulting their credentials, saying, I have agreed to debate this person who does not have credentials up to my standard, that doesn't make any sense. Why did you agree to debate that person then? Anyway, I listened to his interview with on the Rubin Report, and well, now I'm going to listen to some more of him because I want to hear both sides. And he's His accent grinds on me a little bit, but that's just because we're from different parts of the world. But I'll get used to it. I got used to early on. I got used to Limbaugh's, and then I got used to so many people that I've, in my occupation, you just listen to a lot of people. But I'm not saying that I don't agree with some of the aspects that Mr. Murray has. I'm not saying that I don't disagree with some of the topics that he's discussed. What I'm saying is, you're putting your opinion out there. If you're putting your opinion out as fact, that's a different problem. But if you're putting your opinion out there and saying, listen to this, and maybe I can sway you over to my side, which is what I think you're doing. That's kind of the point of a debate. If you're doing that, then you have to either not accept invites to debate people that you consider unqualified, or if you accept that invite, then you've accepted their qualifications and you need to debate the topic. Well, I had to get that out of my system, and that went on a little bit longer than I thought it would. I hope that the audio is working, or else this is all for naught. And I hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday. I have tomorrow off. That's always a blessing. Going to spend today with family. The wife is going to get up shortly, I hope. And then we're going to head out and do our thing. That's all I got. I was kind of passionate about that today, but it is what it is. I hope you guys have a fantastic Sunday, and I hope you have more coffee than I have left in my cup. I hope you find peace, love, dream. Until next time.